Recording now. Yes.
Should we start? So we talked about rasa in details, okay? We will be talking about women's health separately, where we will be dealing with other women's health issues also, like the PCOS, PCOD, etc., etc. We'll be talking about those as well. So as of now, we will stop about rasa here and we will move on to the next issue, which is the rakta, which is the blood. So food, digested, nutrient fluid plus the waste. This nutrient fluid gets absorbed. Everyone can see it, right? Right at the end? Mm-hmm. Or it's too small?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So nutrient fluid gets absorbed into the body and and circulates throughout the body in form of the rasa dhatu. Okay? You come up to this stage. Now this rasa will get acted upon, like we said, there is a digestive fire to convert your food into the nutrient fluid and wastes. Similarly, there is a digestive fire for each tissue. Okay, so the rasa will have its digestive fire, rakta will have its digestive fire, and so on and so forth. So every tissue will have a digestive fire which will then convert the rasa into rakta. Okay?
Can you repeat, please?
Yes. So I said, just like we have at a gross level an agni, a fire, which will convert the food into nutrient fluid and wastes. The nutrient fluid which is taken inside the body, absorbed into the body and starts circulating in form of rasa, acquires a form of the first tissue rasa. From here on, the process of subtle digestion starts. What is subtle digestion? You had taken a food substance that was digested, converted into a form which was acceptable to the body. Now from here, the process of formation of various tissues will start. In a Western concept also, what happens? You take proteins, they undergo a process of digestion, will be converted into amino acids, right? These amino acids will then go into circulation, will combine in different permutations, combinations of amino acids and will form various types of connective tissue. Clear? So there is a process of breakdown and then there is a process of formation. Now for the breakdown to happen, it's a conversion, so fire is required. From the smaller components, fundamental blocks, bigger body parts, body tissues to be formed, that is also a conversion, so a fire is required. So this first part of digestion, which is food into nutrient fluid, is the gross digestion, and from rasa onwards, where all the tissues are formed from this nutrient fluid, that is the process of subtle digestion. Okay? Clear? Clear? Subtle digestion. Yeah. So the process of formation of tissues is under the control of the subtle digestion, for which you require the fires, the digestive fires of each tissue. So from rasa to rakta, rakta to mamsa, which is from the plasma to the blood, from the blood to the muscles, from the muscles to the fats, fats to the bones, bones to bone marrow, and bone marrow to sugar. That is the reproductive tissue. This process, each process will involve a digestive process. And for each of that, there will be one Agni, one fire, which will be of that respective tissue from which the next tissue is being formed. Clear?
Yes.
Okay? Okay. Now, before we move on, we'll have to understand something as to how this happens. Now, just before we were discussing about coconut water, right? And we said coconut water is great for nourishing the rasa dhatu, the rasa tissue, right? Similarly, we said dates are nice for or good for nourishing the rasa dhatu. Mangoes are good for nourishing the rasa dhatu. We said that, right? What does that mean? Does that mean that coconut water will 100% only nourish the rasa dhatu or the rasa tissue? No. But say for example, if there are 100 parts of coconut water, predominantly maybe 60% or 70% of that will nourish the rasa, and the remaining will be passed on to the remaining tissues for their convergence to happen or their them to be formed, the respective tissues. Now, each food item that we eat has a certain affinity towards nourishing particular tissues, or I would say an affinity to nourishing all the 7 tissues in different proportions. So when this process of subtle digestion happens, everybody will take their respective part, which is going to help the conversion, and the remaining will be passed on to the next tissue. The next tissue will take its part, the remaining will be passed on to the next tissue. Okay. Say for example, if we have a plate of, which is full of desserts, and we say, can you pass on? Everybody will take as much as they want and will pass on to the next person. The same way, the food that has come will move into the subtle digestion. Every tissue will take whatever can be taken from that food based on the quality of the food and the potential of the food to nourish that particular tissue, and the remaining will be passed on. Yes.
Is there any waste after the growth?
Every process of digestion will always have a product and a byproduct. Correct? So every process of conversion will have either like the main tissue form and a sub tissue form, or a waste product form, or a sub tissue and a waste product form. Should I repeat, Rose?
No, I'm good. No.
Yes, Christine.
No.
So we were saying that when the food comes into a digestive process, every tissue, when it is undergoing the process of formation, will take from that food item that component which has the potential of nourishing that tissue, and the remaining will be passed on further into the process of digestion. And this way, in a continuous chain of events, the subsequent tissue will be formed. Okay? And this is how the process of digestion happens, the breakdown, and then the process of metabolism happens, which is the anabolic process. We use the word metabolism most of the times in the wrong way. Metabolism is always, people talk about my metabolism is bad, they are referring to the process of digestion.
And the speed as well. Talk about.
Yeah.
I've got a fast.
So metabolism is fast. We were talking about digestion.
Yeah.
Digestion is a catabolic process that cannot be called as metabolism. Metabolism is an anabolic process, which is the subtle digestion. So metabolism is how effectively your body is absorbing the nutrient fluid and converting it into various body components. That is metabolism. So we exactly use it in the wrong way, but that has become a general trend now to call your digestive process as metabolism. My metabolism is very fast. That means I digest the food very fast. That is wrong way of putting it. So even though we say it, please understand that metabolism is not a catabolic process. It is not the breakdown process. Metabolism is the anabolic process, which is the building up of process.
The subtle digestion is
Subtle digestion. Now, when we look at the process of gross digestion and the subtle digestion, and we look at what happens today in the Western science, every food, if you look at the nutrient value of the food, today's food items have been divided into mainly three components. You know, what is the formation? The macros of any food are basically protein, carbs and fats. Correct? Those are the macros of any food. Now, if you look at the formation of any food, depending on the macros, if we say that, for example, if you take say rice, okay, so rice, 100 grams of rice has say 28 grams of carb. Okay, now if 100 grams of rice has 28 grams of carb, then a certain amount of protein, certain amount of fat, certain amount of fiber, what is going to happen? When that rice undergoes the process of digestion, a nutrient fluid component will be formed, which will basically lead to the formation of carbohydrates, proteins and fats in the body, which will be used for various connective tissue formation, giving energy, giving ATPs, etc. Fats will be converted into glycerol and lipids and stored in the body. The fibers which are there will become a part of the waste product, because that will give bulk to your feces and will be thrown out. Now, depending on how much potential that each food item has to nourish carbohydrates, nourish proteins and nourish fats, based on that the anabolic process will happen. This is exactly what Ayurveda is saying, that based on the potential of each food to nourish each tissue, that much will be taken by that tissue will be formed, remaining will be passed on to the next tissue to be formed. So some foods may have 80% potential of nourishing rasa, some foods may have only 10% potential of nourishing rasa. So if you take foods which are highly potent of nourishing rasa, 80% of that will be converted into rasa and remaining 20% will contribute to the remaining 6 tissues formation. Vice versa, if the food has only 10% potential of nourishing rasa, 10% will be used for the rasa formation, remaining 90% of the nutrient fluid will then be used for formation of the remaining 6 tissues. You are understanding? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now this is something which then, so I have always said that if you understand the concepts properly, you can relate it to the Western science, the modern science or today's science also, so that it becomes relevant. We can understand it, we can talk to anybody who has studied any science today, because we can relate it, we can explain them how it happens, how it functions. The language may be different, the concept is the same. So, coming back to this, we said that food, the rasa, and then each tissue will have its own agni to convert it into the next tissue. So we came up to here where the rasa was formed, it is circulated throughout the body. After the rasa is formed, the remaining nutrient fluid will be passed on to the next tissue. Okay? Now here there will be again a fire which will be rasa agni. Rasa agni. Okay, this will convert the rasa into the next tissue, which is the rakta. Okay, this will convert the rasa into the next tissue, which is rakta. Some secondary tissues will be formed here. Secondary tissues are basically the breast milk, or the menstrual fluid, and waste product will be formed, which is the kapha. Yes, question.
No, NF,
Yes, sir.
NF is nutrients and fluids.
Yeah, nutrient fluid. I'm saying NF is the nutrient fluid
Nutrients and
component. Nutrient fluid.
Nutrient fluid.
Nutrient fluid.
Nutrients, the adjective for fluid.
The fluid that has nutritional
Nutrients in
capacity,
it.
Okay.
which is formed after the digestion of the food.
Okay.
Okay?
White has the same secondary tissues as rasa.
Because it's a rasa's secondary tissue. They are not rakta's secondary tissue.
Yeah.
The secondary tissue of rasa.
Ah,
This
Rakta is the
rasa.
next tissue formed. In the process of digestion, these secondary tissues and waste products are formed. Yeah. Sorry?
I just thought, this is getting a bit complicated.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
getting complicated. Yes.
And what do you mean about being kapha, the waste?
Kapha, the kapha, when the doshas are being formed, where are the doshas going to be formed from?
Okay, I got it.
Right?
Mhm.
When in our body we say you take
Yes.
foods
Yeah.
which are increasing kapha, which are increasing pitta,
Yes.
which are increasing vata,
Yes.
where are they going to be formed? They are going to be formed in the process of digestion.
Okay.
They are going to be formed in the process of digestion, right? Because we take food, from that kapha, vata, pitta are going to be formed. So the kapha is found when the first tissue is being formed, which is the rasa conversion. Pitta is formed when the second tissue, the rakta, is formed. Vata is formed in the main digestive process only.
Why did you put rasa agni? Because that's fire, isn't it?
Yes, that's fire. Every process of conversion will require a fire.
Oh, right.
Okay, so when it's a subtle digestion, for the subtle digestion also you will need fires. And for the 7 tissues to be formed, there are 7 agnis, tissue agnis, which are going to form their respective tissues.
Yes.
Okay? Now this rakta is basically the second tissue, which is the blood. Main organ for this is basically the liver. The rasa dhatu, main organ is the heart. For the rasa, main organ is heart. Because the main function of rasa is circulation,
Yeah.
moving throughout the body.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. You okay?
Heart, liver.
The first one is heart,
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
Okay. For the
This is
blood
liver.
is the liver.
Rasa is heart.
Rasa is heart.
Okay.
Now this rakta will again be doing the function of nourishment of the body. The rakta will also do the function of nourishment of the body, just like the plasma or the rasa does. Okay, but it will carry mainly the prana with it, circulate throughout the body. That is the function of rakta. From here, what will happen? The rakta agni will act on the nutrient fluid that is passed on further in the process of digestion. Okay, this will then convert whatever component of the food, whatever food you have taken, depending on the potential of the food, whatever potential it has to nourish the mamsa dhatu, the muscle tissue, that much mamsa dhatu will be formed, which is the muscle tissue.
So lacta pass the rest of the nutrient in the next datus. Is it correct? No.
Let me clean myself.
All these words,
We can do one more thing, if everybody is okay. I can take this part separately for the students if it is too technical for other people, okay? Otherwise, if everybody is happy, I'll continue. If it is getting too complicated, I will keep it simple, restrict it to only the properties of the tissues. We talk about it, talk about what it does in the body, how they are important for disease formation, and move forward. If everybody is interested, I will continue. Otherwise, I can make the students sit separately and do that. Yeah? Sorry?
punish them.
Punish them, yeah.
Yeah, I say go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go for the students?
Yeah.
for everybody.
For
Go
everybody.
for, okay.
Yeah,
I-
yeah.
Christine's got a garden.
Yeah, Christine's gonna go.
Ah.
I'm going to go garden for a little while.
Yeah, okay. Till then, we'll finish the subtle digestion.
Yeah.
And we will have the ojas with us to welcome you back.
Thank you.
Otis is the few drops that anyone uses.
It's the most subtle
Oh, don't
form
want you to
of
make
the
that
digestion.
much of a jump.
Okay. I will use the example that Hillary uses to give her students. You know, so when you have a fruit and when you put it in a juicer, okay, you extract the essence of it, and the rest is thrown away, right? The essence is the juice which nourishes the body. The rest is thrown out. The same thing happens with the food. When it undergoes the process of digestion, the essence is taken as the nutrient fluid. The wastes are thrown away. Thank you for that, Hillary. Yeah? So that essence is the nutrient fluid. Okay. Now every time from the food the rasa is formed from the essence. So this is the essence. Okay. The rasa is formed. Now every time the process is happening, okay, some component which is not able to be converted into rasa, that is still the essence remaining, right? That essence will be passed on to the next tissue. That will get converted. From that, whatever component of rakta is formed, that is formed. The remaining essence is passed on to the next tissue, next person. Just like I gave an example of a plate which was full of, small bowls full with desserts, and we passed them on. Okay, so one took one bowl of it, the next person took 2 bowls from that, but the remaining was passed on. Same way, every dhatu will take whatever is the potential from that essence to nourish that particular dhatu, that tissue. The remaining essence will be passed on forward in the digestion. And that will get acted upon by the dhatu agni, by the agni of the tissue, and that particular tissue will be formed in the process, which is the continuous process of subtle digestion. Clear?
Yeah, no, but
No.
this example can be a bit tricky because you don't pass this. I mean, it's like
You're
each
passing
each of
different-
them,
yeah.
each of the different datus takes what is important for them, which might not be for the next one. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So you don't pass.
plate
You
of
don't pass
chocolates?
the.
So the
But
plate
you
of...
got the point.
Yeah, but I
Yes.
meant in the case that someone maybe didn't
No,
understand.
No, I said that what I said is everybody will pick up based on what they want,
They want.
right?
Yeah.
Now what they want, if they don't want 2 bowls, they are not going to take 2 bowls. They're going to take only 1 bowl. So that
This
again
is-
depends on the potential.
Okay.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what it is that's being put in, who wants what is going to get it.
No,
No,
the
it does
potential.
matter.
It
Well-
does matter.
So if what I eat is not going to nourish the rasa, but it's gonna nourish the rakta, it's gonna go
I'll give a
right by.
Yeah.
I'll
High
give an
density.
example. I'll give an example. We said that coconut water. If you take coconut water, now coconut water, if we, for the purpose of understanding, say, 100 mils of nutrient fluid was formed from the coconut water we consumed. okay, and that is undergoing the process of subtle digestion. Say 60% of this has the potential to nourish the rasa dhatu, then 60 meals of this will be taken up by the rasa to form the rasa dhatu. The remaining 40 will be passed on to rakta. Now suppose there is only 10% potential to nourish rakta, 10% will be taken by rakta, 30% will be passed on forward. Subsequent tissues which are there, suppose they have 5%, 6%, whatever potential, that much they will take up, the remaining will be passed on.
Right.
That's how the process will continue till the last tissue is nourished.
I get that.
Okay.
So, but if 100 mils of whatever, rasa only wants 10%.
No, rasa doesn't, it's not about what rasa wants, it's about the potential of the food to nourish so much.
Okay.
Same question though, Manish. If the potential of rasa is to take only 10% of that food,
Then
that's a
90%
question.
will go
90% will go on.
And
Yeah.
then,
So what my question was, whatever, is it important what we take in?
Hmm.
If I really want to feed my mamsa,
Hmm.
I can eat that now and it's just going to, it'll get to my mamsa.
Correct.
yeah.
So, say for example, if we have to nourish your mamsa, then what is nourishing mamsa? Directly the meat will nourish your mamsa, for example. Okay, so say red meat, for example. Okay, so when you are, and the principle behind this is when you are having a health condition, there is no concept of veg and non-veg in Ayurveda. Okay, when a person is sick, whatever is beneficial and required for that person needs to be given. Okay, let's also understand that.
Got it.
So if suppose for mamsa, you have to use, and I am not giving any examples of herbs because you will not understand or you will not relate to them because you have not seen them, experienced those herbs, etc. But if we have to say that mamsa gets nourished by red meat and you want to nourish mamsa, you consume red meat, the mamsa will get nourished.
Right.
How much time will it take? That is depending on the process of digestion. They have said that every subsequent tissue takes 5 days to get formed. So the mamsa that you take, the red meat that you take today, mamsa is the third tissue, rasa is formed on the first day because it's immediately formed. So 11th day your mamsa tissue will get nourishment. Clear?
Thank you.
Clears your question? Okay.
Thank you.
Any other question on this? Okay. So now here in the process of the rakta formation, there will be again some sub-tissues, secondary tissues formed and a waste product formed. The waste product is pitta and the secondary tissues are blood vessels. Now when I say blood vessels, the walls of the blood vessels are the structures, inside are the hollow spaces. Okay, so the walls of the blood vessels, the strength, the quality of the blood vessels will depend on the rakta because it's a secondary tissue of the rakta dhatu. Question?
No, yeah. I just try to, I mean, in the process of the formation of rakta.
Formation of mamsa from rakta.
Okay, the mamsa from rakta, there are these two ways.
Yeah, but they
They are
are the
pitta.
sub tissue. This is a secondary tissue of rakta, and pitta is the secondary tissue of rakta.
Yeah. Okay.
Clear?
Yeah. I just.
Where are we confused?
No. I mean, if I understood. So, in the process of the formation of mamsa from rakta,
Yes.
okay, there are form. Oh, I don't understand. So, in the rakta, you form a pitta and the blood vessels, or there are waste? What?
No,
No.
waste.
Okay. Food. Fire. Okay, the essence and waste. Right? What do we say? In the process of digestion of the food, essence and the waste products are formed. In the process of digestion of rakta, the secondary tissue blood vessel, waste product pitta, and the main tissue mamsa is formed.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah.
And what do we say? These essence and these waste products are the essence and waste products of the food, correct? So this main tissue, this secondary tissue, this waste product is of rakta. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now that also brings us to a very important point here, that any conditions, any diseases which are related to blood vessels, okay, any conditions which are related to blood vessels, which is thinning of walls, aneurysms, all those would be because of rakta digestive process. Something is wrong there, and that is why the secondary tissue is not strong enough. Question?
Blood cells.
Sorry?
What about the blood cells?
Blood cells are already, when the plasma is converted into rakta, that is where the blood cells come into play. That is why what does Ayurveda say? Coloring of plasma converts the plasma which is white in color into red color blood, correct?
Yeah.
Which happens in liver. Now from here, mamsa is formed. The remaining part of the essence is sent forward to the next tissue. Again the mamsa agni will work here, act here on the nutrient fluid. The next tissue, which is meda, will be formed. And what are the secondary tissues here?
Muscle tissue and ligaments, or
Ligaments, tendons, right? Tendons
Yeah.
and
Joint? No.
skin.
Skin?
Skin.
I forgot.
What's the main organ for mamsa?
Muscles.
The muscles all over the body. And the function of mamsa is basically supporting the body, giving strength to the body, giving form to the body. Okay.
Great.
And is the one that helps with movement of the body too. Because
No,
what-
I'm just. Yeah, sorry, what are you saying?
is the one that helps also
Yeah,
with
it
the
helps in the
movement.
movement. So the mamsa is responsible for strength, form, structure, and also protection, because it protects various organs because of the covering. The tendons and the skin, they are the secondary tissue, and the waste products are the waxy secretions which come from in the ear or in the nose. Okay, so the secretions of the nose and the ears, those are the waste products of the mamsa dhatu secretion.
Huh.
So increase of those will mean that the agni is functioning stronger, and that is why more secretions or more of these secretions are coming. Okay, now from here, from the Meda, I am writing it here because I want to bend down to write. So from the Meda, the nutrient fluid is passed on, acted upon by the Agni of the Mamsa, no, Meda Agni, and it is converted into Asthi, which is the bones. Let me just correct this, sorry, I made a mistake. Just a small correction. When the Mausa to Meda happens, the secondary tissue which is formed is basically skin and the subcutaneous fat. Okay.
So ligament and tendons, no?
The sira and sira is, you know, something which they are saying is related to that is the dhamani, the blood vessels is related to the blood, and the sira tendons, they are formed here.
Oh, in the middle.
Yeah. And the waxy secretions. Okay. Now, when the Meda Dhatu is, the nutrient fluid is passed on, the Meda Agni acts, bones are formed. Here, the secondary tissue, which is the tendons, they are formed, and the waste product is sweat.
Its functions.
So functions of Meda is giving energy, giving strength and protection and lubrication.
And courage?
Sorry?
Courage?
Yeah, emotional level, yes.
Can you say that again? That is Meda's.
Yeah, Meda is responsible for
Giving strength?
strength, energy, protection and lubrication. Then from the Asthi, which is the bones, the nutrient fluid is passed on, the Asthi Agni acts here, forms the next tissue, which is the bone marrow or the Majja. Now regarding the secondary tissue, some have said that the teeth are the secondary tissue. Some people have said, like some textbooks say there is no secondary tissue, and the nails and the hair,
The hairs
What-
of the body.
hair of the body.
Which is the correlation with the nails and hair about with Asti, like a
Sorry.
waist?
Sorry,
Why nails and hair are related with the bones?
with the bones.
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Okay. So first and foremost, if you look at the structure, okay, it is very strong earth element dominant substance in the body. Okay. Secondly, whenever there is a problem with the bones, you will find ridges on the nails, or the nails becoming brittle, or the teeth becoming brittle, or hair loss.
Okay.
Okay, anytime there is a, that's why whenever you are checking the bone health, okay, you cannot see the bone health just looking at the person, but you are checking the bone health. We check or we ask the person, have you started having hair fall recently, or are you losing more hair? We also check the nails. If there are ridges on the nails, like the nail is not smooth enough, that means the nail, that means the asthi dhatu, the bones are not strong enough. People may also complain that recently they are having a lot of cavities in their teeth, which is also an indication that the bones are not strong enough. Again, during pregnancy, when the mother is nourishing two bodies, herself and the baby, that time also, just like the rasa, the asthi dhatu is also a main tissue which is formed in the body, which is coming from the calcium supplementation etc. that we take in the body. That asthi dhatu, that bones, they are nourishing the bones of the mother as well as they are forming new bones in the fetus. And that is why you will see during pregnancy the women tend to lose a lot of hair if the calcium supplementation is not good enough. They will also have problems with their nails. Okay, so the questions that you ask typically to understand the bone health is: 1. Check whether there are ridges on the nails, check whether there is hair loss, check whether the dental cavities have increased recently, which will mean that the bone health is not correct. You can also ask, do the nails grow properly? People who have problem with their bones, they will tell you that my nails cannot grow, they break automatically. The nails will not grow, they will break. Why? Because they have become very thin, they have become very brittle, and that's why they will break. So these signs and symptoms people will explain to you when you are checking the bone health. Obviously, if there is a problem with the bones, you nourish the bones with certain substances which are nourishing the bones. One of the best substances to nourish the bones is curcuma, turmeric. Okay, turmeric is excellent for nourishing the bones. Obviously, you can also have broths made with bones and the meat in it, and that will also nourish the bones. Then from the bone marrow, now bone marrow is called as majja. So what they explain is bone marrow is something which is present inside the cavity of the bones. Okay, it's present inside the cavity of the bones. Now, what if you have to look at it? The long bones, there is bone marrow, but if you look at the skull, the cavity of the bones contains something which is similar to the bone marrow in its form or structure, which is your brain. And that is why majja is also named in a lot of books as the nerve tissue. Sorry. It is also present in the cavities of your vertebrae, which is the spinal cord, which is also the nerve tissue. So when we look at majja, some books will say bone marrow, some books will say bone marrow, or they will say brain, or they will say brain and spinal cord, or they will say the nerve tissue. And all are correct, because if we look at the definition, what it says, it is present inside the cavity of the bones. So skull is a cavity of the bone, your vertebral column is the cavity of the bone. So majja relates to bone marrow, brain and the spinal cord. So bone marrow and the nervous tissue, both are correct. Now this bone marrow will again pass on the nutrient fluid to the next tissue, will be acted by the Majja Agni, will form the next tissue which is Shukra, which is the reproductive tissue, and there is no secondary tissue here. The only waste products that are formed here are the oily secretions of the conjunctiva, oily secretions in the feces, oily secretions in the mouth, oily secretions on the skin. Okay, so
And sorry, the way Majja, maybe I lose.
Sorry.
Majja has some waste or second tissue. Maybe I lose the part. I don't know if.
No.
no secondary
okay.
tissue, only wastes,
Okay.
only
okay.
waste. Yeah.
Can we consider the tears as a oily secretion
Yes.
of the eyes?
Yes. The functions of Majja obviously are, nourishment of the bone first of all, and then because it's a nervous tissue, the entire functioning of the nervous system, which is control, is done by the Majja Dhatu. Then the Shukra, the Shukra Agni,
One question, sorry.
yes, I'll
What would be the main function of Majja? I mean, what's
main function of Majja, nourishment of the bones and also control, which is through the nervous system.
thank you.
Now the next tissue, which is the Shukra Dhatu, which is the reproductive tissue. So now there is a very interesting concept here, which is when we talk of Shukra Dhatu, the immediate thing that comes to our mind is basically the sperm and the ovum. Okay, because those are the reproductive tissues in the body. The male has sperm, the female has ovum. So yes, those are the reproductive tissues. These two are referred to as the Shukra Dhatu in each individual, male or female. And but Ayurveda says that Shukra Dhatu is something which has a function of reproduction. Okay, and if the Shukra Dhatu means something that can reproduce or that has the ability to reproduce, then that has to be present and in each and every cell. It cannot be just related to the Shukra and ovum or the sperm and ovum, because that is responsible for the formation of the offspring. But on a daily basis, on a regular basis, in our entire life cycle, our entire body is undergoing the process of regeneration. Who is doing that? Obviously, it has to be reproductive tissue. And that is why Ayurveda says that the reproductive tissue is present in each and every cell of the body, doing the function of reproduction. And then when it comes to creating a offspring, the sperm and ovum are also the reproductive tissues which will do that function at that stage. To support this statement, we can also say that when a person is sexually aroused, you will see the changes of that on the entire body. It is not just related to the sperm and ovum. The changes are seen on the entire body. the heart rate goes up, the respiration goes up, the body temperature rises. So that also shows that the Shukra Dhatu is present in the entire body. It is not just in the testes, or it is not just in the ovaries. And this also means that the process of reproduction that is happening, the process of regeneration that is happening, it's at every cell level. And Shukra Dhatu is functioning at every cell level. So any problems with the Shukra Dhatu may result into impacting the regeneration at the cellular level also. Yes, I will say that any problems with the Shukra Dhatu will then be seen at the regenerative processes happening at the cellular level also. We'll talk about it more later. So, to talk right now, we said that the Shukra Dhatu is responsible for reproduction, cellular as well as the gross reproduction, which is formation of the offspring, and it is present all over the body, obviously present in the specific organs like the reproductive system organs of the male and the reproductive system organs of the female also. Now this Shukra Dhatu has a Shukra Dhatu Agni. So whatever is remaining to be converted from the Shukra Dhatu, that nutrient fluid component gets acted upon by the Shukra Dhatu Agni and forms something which is called as Ojas, which is the essence of all the Dhatus. I'll repeat. Okay. So the Shukra Dhatu is the seventh tissue. Okay. So the formation of tissues is completed when the Shukra Dhatu is formed. But after the Shukra Dhatu is formed, whatever small component is remaining, okay, that gets acted upon by the Agni of Shukra Dhatu and converts that component into something called as Ojas, which is the purest and the most pure essence of all the tissues which are there, which is responsible for the life force in your body, which is responsible for the prana, which is responsible for the energy, which is responsible for the vigor, which is responsible for the strength, which is responsible for the immunity.
And there's some kind of food that we can eat for
Ojas?
increase ojas.
Ghee,
Okay. And some food that is not recommended.
poisons.
Alcohol.
Alcohol.
Could we
Or
actually
drugs, yeah.
could we actually mention like food that would be good for each of the dhatus?
I will. We still have to talk about Rasayana
Oh,
separately. You have to build the whole thing step by step, right? So, this is basically the entire process of formation of tissues, the 7 tissues and the ojas. The concept of ojas is again very unique, okay, only in Ayurveda. And it talks about a very unique feature that if the ojas is strong, the ojas is in the right quantity, okay, this ojas is present in the heart, and only how many? What is the quantity of ojas? 8 drops. So very small quantity, 8 drops, is present in the heart and is responsible for strength, courage, energy, immunity and the prana.
question.
Yes.
A big question.
Big question. Okay.
I don't know how into you are in the preparation of this retreat detoxing, but since the first day I'm trying to understand this detox that we are taking here in the view of Ayurveda. And now I think I'm understanding better because we are talking about the tissues. So can we consider that this diet is more a nourishment for each tissue than a digestion of toxin? Or can we consider that?
Okay.
Okay. So that, let me
Got
just,
the question.
Okay.
Got the question.
And what we are eating, I think it would be very interesting for us as students know exactly what we are eating. For example, the ingredients, the spices, the form of preparation that we know is so important in Ayurveda. How to prepare, what to put first, how to heat, and why we are taking this kind of food. Sorry about, I don't know if I should ask you for you or for. And where are the 6 tastes? Because we have already learned about the tastes. Also, what kind of medications we are taking and why, and what about the individuality, and what are the expected effects?
We got
of
only
this?
27 hours here.
Yes.
Okay,
But
and you
just
want to do the entire course which we take 4.5 years to do.
Yes, but
In
it's
those
so
27
important
hours.
because we are eating and we are living that. So
Okay.
I'm there. I don't know if it's just
No,
a
but
curiosity
I understand.
or a
But
necessity.
so, we got 27 hours, and you want to do the entire course that we teach. Like I took 4.5 years to do the basic thing, and then another 3 years to do the post graduation. So 8 years to study to become the practitioner.
Yes.
I'm not expecting that you put in 8 years, but the thing is that 3 hours plus the combination of people that we have. If I had all students here, the level of information that would have been given would have been completely different. Correct? But we are limited. As far as the food part, etc. is concerned, yes, we were already considering running a cooking course for all of you. So I'll ask Shanti to do that, so that the ingredients, what is cooked, how to cook, how it works, etc., that will be taken care of. The taste, etc., yes, we are going to deal with it. The taste and the effects of the taste, what it does on the doshas, dhatus, etc., that we are going to absolutely deal with it. Why? What is the detox concept? I said that we still have not even touched upon how the diseases happen. Correct? So if we don't know how the diseases happen, which is what now we are going to talk about, how will you know what we are doing, how that effect, or what is the effect of that? Okay, because most common thing people understand is the doshas, right? The doshas are responsible for everything, is what is the basic concept everyone has. Doshas have only a limited role to play in the disease formation. The dhatus have a bigger role to play in the disease formation. Okay, so we just completed understanding the 7 dhatus. Now we have to understand the process of disease formation, correct? Which is the 6 stages of disease formation. Have you studied that in the course? Yeah. So we have to study that, not yet, right?
Yeah,
So we
because
have to
we are starting after.
Yeah, so the 6 stages of disease progression will explain how the doshas and the dhatus play their role in the formation of the disease. Once you know that, then the idea of why you are eating this, what is it doing to your body, the medicines that are being given, what is that doing to your body, will become more clearer. Okay.
Are we gonna mention? I'm not sure if we have enough time, but are we gonna mention like when each dhatu it has increased or decreased?
That will be too much
much.
details for other people sitting here.
Okay.
I mean, I would love to, like I said,
You can pretend like I'm not here. I
no,
don't
but
want to negatively- I don't
then
want to negatively
but
impact.
then what happens is also when we do a detox retreat, the idea is give the basic concepts, okay, and Rose has been here, this is the third time she's doing a retreat, and we deal with a lot of health conditions also, which people experience in their day-to-day lives or maybe in their family, in their friends, common health conditions, and we talk about them as to why they happen, how can you deal with them at least a basic level, have an understanding of lifestyle changes, diet changes that can be incorporated. So if we have to do only technical part, then all that will not get completed, which is of the general interest here. You know, so obviously we'll need at least 2 or 3 days for that. We still not even touched upon the constitution part, which is the basic fundamental thing to understand as to how to analyze a constitution and how to evaluate it. So that's why I said we only have 27 hours, you know, here, and we're trying to give as much as possible to the depth here. Obviously there will be more opportunities. You are studying Ayurveda, so it's not like, you know, I go back and I never come back. So, you know, we have more opportunities to study. But cooking, I mean, Shanti will decide what is to be done about it. As far as moving forward, let's move forward, and then we can sit and have maybe an hour, 2 hours of just students and me talking also at the end of the course. Not a problem.
But I don't think, Tammy, you should feel in any way. You're most welcome here to be
I
part
feel
of it.
welcome. I just don't want to, you know,
You're not.
slow things down. I mean,
No,
No,
I
but
think as
that's not,
students we need to be more humble.
So the what I'm trying to say, Tammy, is that this is the first time we have had students in such large number. Usually it's a group of people where there are 2 students and 10 people who are retreaters. And it is meant to be a retreaters thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I told the students in the beginning itself that whatever you need me to talk in details, you
Right.
give me a list separately.
Right.
I will try to weave it in, because the idea is not to go into details for this course, because this is not the part of the training module that they are doing. This is an additional thing.
Yeah, this is about treating, educating people who are not students at an in-depth level, you know, that you don't read in a hairdresser's magazine, right, about this amazing science.
Right.
And for the students, we see it as revision. If you hear it from 3 or 4 teachers, you get different perspectives or different ideas of how they emphasize different things, and we find that cross-pollination valuable.
The practical stuff I've found over the years, the practical application, you convince me that with
I'm
what
also
I
thinking about my question. Is there a second tissue for Shukra? Second tissue.
We stop? Yeah, question?
What was your question?
Question?
I just lost because I was thinking about my question before questioning. If there is the second tissue of Shukra, I
No.
lost that. Okay.
No.
And the waist?
No.
Okay. So,
One last point before we stop for the day is when we go from food to the Shukra Dhatu, or when we go from food to the Ojas, one thing we have to understand is the tissues get more subtle in nature, more deep seated in the body, and more purer in forms. Because why? More digestive processes are happening. So the more purer form is getting formed one after the other. And that is why the most important function, which is reproduction, has been given to the 7th tissue, which is the last tissue, because it has to be purest. It cannot have any waste products, it cannot have any impurities in it. So just like from milk you make ghee, which is the purest form of milk, you know, every time the process of digestion happens. The same way the food undergoes multiple processes of digestion for the purest form of the tissue to be formed, which is the Shukra Dhatu, which is what does the function of reproduction. Okay? That is the last point that I wanted to make for this. You have a question?
Yes, just one. There is any chance that the last Dhatus, for example, would be damaged, or one in between would be damaged, and there would not be the nutrition happening. Like for example, I know that the nutrition might not happen if there is AMA, no?
Yes. Yes.
Because it would kind of block.
Block.
But
Yes.
is there any other chance that the Dhatus will be blocked? I mean, would be another, I don't know, like any tissue malformation or something that would not
I'll
help
give
this?
an example, and you will understand it immediately. Look at the example of obesity. Okay, is there lack of nourishment? No. Is there a lack of nourishment of the specific tissue, like the Meda Dhatu, the fatty tissue? People do consume a lot of fats. People who become obese, they take a lot of fatty foods, etc. when they become obese, right? So when we are saying nourishment, is there any lack in that? No. Is the tissue of a good quality?
No.
Still no. Why? Because the Agni is bad. Just like when the food is of a good quality, you can still have Ama in the body. Same way, you can give fats but still not have good fatty tissue, still have an toxic fatty tissue, which is what is obesity. It is not about increased fat only. It is about the quality of tissue which is also formed. That quality of tissue is bad. What is the normal function of Meda Dhatu, fatty tissue? To give energy. Do obese people have energy? No. The property of that is to give strength. Do obese people have strength? No. The property of fats is to give support and lubrication. Is that happening? No. All their body physiologies are lowered, all their functions are bad. Their entire body is functioning in a very pathological way. Why? Nourishment was proper, quality was good, the Agni is bad. So when we look at the abnormalities, it is not just, like I said, when I talked about, we put a lot of emphasis on the quality of food, but we don't look at how our digestive fire is. The same applies to the tissues also. The quality of nourishment to the tissues might be great, but if the Agni is bad, the tissue quality that is going to be formed is still going to be bad. So the Agni correction has to be done. Correcting the Agni has to be done. Okay, again, if I say this, then you will want that information, but I will say this and say I am not going to be able to give it here. There is a method of correcting Agnis also.
The specific Agni.
Specific Agnis also. There are remedies, there are things to be done for specifically for correcting those Agnis. That has to be done at that time. But understanding that Agni is bad is good, because you have understood that the Agni is bad. And then go back to the principle. If you are not able to give specific, you know the principle. What is the principle? The big boss is the Agni in your digestive system. Correct? If you correct the big boss, the smaller employees will get corrected themselves. So correct the Agni in the digestive system. It will give strength to the respective Agnis of the Dhatus also. It will correct gradually the Dhatu Agni also. It may take longer time than the specific treatment, but will it work? 100% it will work. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.